War of Passion. It was a beautiful day in upstate New York for a wedding, with no COVID restrictions in place. Jim and Maria from the family bakery were getting married in 3 weeks. They had a lot to do for their special day. All the locals were talking about what just happened at the family bakery a few months ago, when Dave and his buddies were sitting outside at the family bakery having coffee and donuts, talking about how everything is good. When Mike started talking about a woman who he met online, he told them that she was from Ukraine and how beautiful she is. Dave told him that Russia was going to invade Ukraine shortly, as he heard it on the news just the other day. Mike said, "Yeah, I heard it also. I don't know what to do if that happens." Dave told him just to take one day at a time, for there's nothing he or anyone can do if that war starts. He agreed with him and they continued to talk about good news. Linda and Sandy joined the guys outside. They brought out fresh coffee and a plate of fresh donuts for them. Linda asked Mike about his new love, and it got silent for a moment when Dave spoke up and said, "We were just talking about it, and it's all good, isn't it, Mike?" And he agreed with Dave by saying yes, all is good, and he changed the subject by asking her how everything was at the bakery and how the wedding plans were going. She told him everything is great. The bakery is slamming every day, every table is full from the time we open till closing, 7 days a week, and Maria is going to have a grand wedding. She wants to go to London for her honeymoon, and dumbass wants to go camping and fishing in Canada. Imagine that shit, if you could. Looking at her husband, she said, "He's not my son, he's all yours." And she meant it if they go camping and fishing. I know she will give in, so Mr. Papa Bear, you better make sure they go to London and not to Canada. Do you hear me? With a stern voice, everyone sat back as they said, "Well, Mama made her point." Damn girl. Linda got a kick out of hearing her talk that way, as Dave just sat there looking at her with a smile. When she was done, he calmly said, "Yes, dear." She had that look he knows all too well, the look you just pissed Mama off. She looked at him calmly and said, "I just bought a pink dog house," and she wasn't laughing when she said that, but everyone else had to hold it in and walk away. Then they all laughed about what she said to him. He just sat there not knowing what to say, as she went on, "You're the man of the family, you better talk with dumbass or else," as she got up to walk away. Mike sat there when Dave asked him, "Are you sure you want a woman in your life?" He replied, "Anyone in this world but her," with a laugh. Dave said, "You know your sister when she gets that way." Mike had to agree with him and he said, "Yeah, you do know she will buy you a pink doghouse." Dave said, "Yeah, I know. I better buy another one for dumbass, because if I get one it's his fault," and he gets one with a laugh. Looking at him, Mike said, "Oh man, you're playing with fire. You know that, don't you?" Dave said, "Yeah, but what the heck, this shit is way too funny," as he smiled. The ladies had to go back inside because it was very busy that day. They left Dave, Mike, and Tracy outside to talk. Inside, all the ladies and Jim seen the guys outside laughing their asses off. Sandy said, "If I go out there they won't be laughing." Jim asked, "Why are they laughing like that?" His mother just looked at him as she had to walk away. As he stood there, Linda said London or Canada, then he knew, but them laughing outside, he didn't catch on to it. He went into the kitchen to help the ladies with the deliveries. Even though the COVID restrictions were lifted, Linda kept the deliveries in place, and she was still using the bikers. After a while the three went inside. Alicia asked if they need anything. Dave said, "Yeah, we need the best coffee in all of New York State." With a smile, she said, "Are you sure you want to smile or laugh?" He gave her a stare-down look as he walked outside, slamming the door. He didn't think that was funny, and he took it to heart. Tracy said, looking at her, "Oh shit." Mike said, "I need to go to him for girl. He will go off on you with that look," and him slamming doors. "Oh fuck." He went to Dave. Alicia stood there with a sad look as Tracy yelled for Sandy, and she came out to the counter when Tracy told her what just happened. Looking at him outside with Mike, she knew he could explode at any moment. Alicia said, "I was only being funny as a joke." Sandy said, "Well, he must have taken it to heart." "Damn it," Maria said. "Oh hell, watch this." As she walked to Dave, standing there, she looked at him and she said, "My daddy bear, you need a hug, don't you?" He said, "Not now." She didn't move and she put her hands on her hips, and she said, "Hey you," I said, "My papa bear needs a hug, damn it." He was in shock hearing her speak as she did to him, and she said, "Well, I am waiting for it now and not next year, and I am not smelling anything burning, like I do with you know who. So again, my papa bear needs a hug." Looking at her, he could only smile as he hugged her. She held on to him tight, as she whispered, "Hey, you're scaring everyone inside. Alicia was only joking with you. She didn't mean to upset you, my daddy bear." He told her to come with him as they went back inside. Mike followed them. Inside he stood there. He said, "My family already has a dumbass, so I can't be one." As he looked at Alicia, he walked over to her and he picked her up for a hug as he said, "Hey, pretty lady, I am so sorry if I took it to heart. I shouldn't have let that bother me, but it did, and I am sorry. Please forgive me." As he looked into her beautiful eyes, she said, "I forgive you, and I am sorry for getting you upset." He replied back, "It's my fault. You did nothing wrong. I am the one who was a dumbass." She smiled as he kissed her cheek. Linda asked for a hug with her hands on her hips. Looking at her, he said, "Like daughter, like mother," with a smile, and he gave everyone a hug. Jim, being a smart-ass, put his arms out for a hug. When Dave said, "Really?" and he grabbed a hand to shake it, and he said, "Don't you dare ask for a kiss, because you'll get a four-knuckle kiss," with a laugh. Jim could only laugh back. Linda said, "Coffee outside, let's all go, it's a beautiful sunny day." They all got their coffees and they sat outside. They knew that they could only be outside for a few minutes, because the bakery was a full house. They all sat there with Mike and Tracy talking and laughing as friends should. Shortly later, they all had to part ways, all except Dave and Mike. They still sat outside talking. Mike asked Dave, "What if the war starts? What should I do?" Dave told him, "There is only one thing to do, my friend. Go and get her." Mike said, "You mean go by myself into war?" Dave said as he looked at him face to face, and he said, "No, my dear friend, you stood by me and my family here at the bakery. Do you think you're going alone?" Dave said, "My friend, I will tell you, if it's your choice to go after the love of your life, then you won't be alone. Trust my every word to you. We all will go with you as brothers." They shook hands and said, "Brother to brother, old school." Just then Mike got a message on his iPhone. It was her. He told Dave that he had to leave and they both said their goodbyes. Mike drove home and Dave stayed at the bakery until closing. Everyone left the bakery at closing time. Dave and Linda went home for the night. When they got home, it was on the news that Russia was staging troops at the border to Ukraine, and Sandy could only say, "Oh my God, this can't be happening." Dave said, "Oh hell it is, and it won't be good for Ukraine or the world." He told his wife, "I need to make a phone call in my office." He knows she won't bother him there. He knew he had to call Mike, and he did. Mike told him that she was crying about what Russia was doing and that she wanted to leave Ukraine, but she has no passport to leave. Mike asked him, what should she do? Dave told him, "Tell her that she needs to take one day at a time, for if there's a will there's a way. Tell her this, Mike, if war starts then other countries will open their borders for them and then she can leave without having a passport. Germany will help all in Ukraine, and I don't see our country just sitting back doing nothing." Mike went on to say that her family won't leave Ukraine if the war starts, but she has to because she's a model in her country, and if Russia gets her they will only use her as a sex prisoner. This she does know. Dave could only sit back and think about what he just heard, and he knows how she would be treated if they caught her. Dave knew his friend Mike was right. Dave told him to tell her things are being worked out here to help her and her family. Tell her to lay low and to be ready to leave Ukraine if she has to. Mike thanked Dave and they hung up for the night. Dave made a few calls to the bikers about it. They all agreed to meet at the bakery. That next morning Dave went to the bakery when he seen the old homeless man sitting on the park bench across the street. Dave walked over to the old man and sat with him. He started off with, "Good morning." The old man said, "Yeah, it's good for us, but not the people in Ukraine." Dave was shocked hearing this homeless man say that. Dave asked him, "How do you know you're living under the town's bridge?" He said, "I have my ways to hear the news." Dave went on to tell him that he may have to go into Ukraine to help a brother out if the war starts. The old man looked at Dave and said this, "Do you remember way back when I told you, people call me one shot? Well, this is why. There is only a handful of guys who own that title. I am one of 5 guys who holds that honor as a sniper. To hold that title, a sniper has to take out a quarter 10 times with a distance of 1 mile. 9 hits, 1 lost. You don't get the title of one shot." He asked Dave, "Do you get what I am saying to you?" Dave said, "I knew there was more to you than just being homeless." The old man said, "I have nightmares about what I did for my country, and it's best if I live away from people. I hope you understand me better now." Dave told the old man, "You have the highest respect from me, old man, or should I call you one shot?" He said back to him, "Anything but one shot, my friend. Old man is good enough for me." As they shook hands, just then Linda pulled up to open the bakery. Dave asked him to walk with him into the Bakery. The old man told Dave, I will just sit here until it's open if it's alright with you. Dave said I will let you know when we are open. They shook hands and Dave went to meet Linda in the bakery. The old man just sat there thinking about war and being one shot. About 30 minutes passed. Dave came outside to tell him that the bakery was open. As Dave walked outside he was gone. He looked up and down the street for him but he was nowhere to be found, so Dave went back inside. An hour later all of the bikers showed up to the bakery. Linda was surprised seeing them all together at her bakery that morning. Dave told her that he called them to be here, that he needed to talk with them, over coffee and the best donuts in New York State. She smiled as she went back inside to get coffee and donuts for them. All of the lady bikers went inside to help her as the guys all talked about the war in Ukraine and Mike's problem with the love of his life being there. Just then the old man walked up to the bikers and he said this looking at Dave, you're going to need a one shot with you if you're planning on going into Ukraine. And guys, I know Ukraine like the back of this old man's hand. Trust me, I am not that old that I can't do my job. And he said never underestimate an old man, it's only a number. As he looked at the group, just then Dave stood up as he looked at what the old man was wearing. His face was as white as a ghost. Standing before him, he said this to him, no one here will ever disrespect you, trust me. And guys, look at the uniform he is wearing, that alone says everything about him. Then he placed a hand on his shoulder and said this to the group, this is my friend, so I ask you all to be his friend also. I'm pretty sure he was helping us in the background when the shit happened here at the bakery. I know he had my back. And that's all I will say. Everyone there stood up and they all shook his hand. Tracy said this, we are all glad to be your friend, old man, and they all saluted him with respect and honor. Dave, Mike, and Tracy had a feeling it was him in the background many months ago, and no one said anything about it. The old man had a tear that ran down his face as Maria seen it. She ran to him as she wiped the tear away and said, my friend, why cry? He told her, little one, it's a happy tear, not a sad one. I am happy. As he smiled down at her, she gave him a hug and said, you're my best friend. Then she gave him coffee and donuts. She asked him if he would be at her wedding. Looking down at her, he said, I would be honored to be there, my angel. Then he thanked her as he kissed her forehead and said, may God bless you for the pure kindness you show this old man and the world. Her face lit up with pure joy and happiness hearing him say that to her. All the bikers did say amen. Then she went back into the bakery as they all invited him into the group. He sat by Dave and Tracy. Mike didn't know this meeting was taking place. They all talked for a good 3 hours about it. Then they all agreed to meet the following day at the club. Tracy asked the old man if he would be there, and he replied back, oh hell, yes, I'll be there. Tracy knew he lived under the bridge and asked him if he needed a place to stay in. He told Tracy, I am happy where I am at, but thank you for the offer. They all shook his hand as they parted. Dave sat there by himself until the ladies came outside to sit with him. Sandy has seen that look before and she knew something was up, and it wasn't a good look from her husband. He looked at her and said this short statement to her. He said, don't ask, I will tell you when I need to. She knew not to ask and she didn't. They sat there talking about Ukraine when Jim pulled up and he told them that Russia just invaded Ukraine. Dave yelled out, no fucking way no. He grabbed his phone and he walked away from the ladies as he called Tracy for a meeting. Now they all were at the club, so Dave said, I will bring the old man with me and we will be there in a few. He hung up from Tracy and he told everyone sitting outside that he has to go now.